Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Football Fallout. This one is all about Week 5 start sits and touchdown predictions. I run my own analytics. I do it for the Fantasy Football Almanac, which does very well on Amazon every year. If you don't know me, you will soon. We were dialed in earning season for these analytics for weeks 4 through week 16. We are in that now. Things are only going to get better. Let's talk about it. All right, everybody, so let me just start with this. I didn't get a chance to post my start sits and my touchdown predictions before the Thursday night week this week. Unfortunately, I was a little bit busy, but let me tell you how I did. First of all, I said Jared Goff was a start. I actually started him in my league. Was that right? I don't think so. I had him throwing 2 touchdowns. He only had 1. I did have Gurley getting in the end zone. Only once, though. He got 2. I also got the touchdown right with Cooper Kupp. I predicted that Robert Woods would also get in the end zone, and if anybody watched the game, he came damn close to it. He should have gotten in the end zone. On the other side, Russell Wilson, I said, was a definite start. I thought he was going to have a nice game. I had him projected for 2 touchdowns, maybe another rushing. He ended up with 4 touchdowns, so I was a little low on that. I had Carson in the end zone. That was correct. I had Lockett in the end zone. That was correct. I had Metcalf in the end zone. That was correct. And I missed Moore in the end zone. And, they're not going to be perfect every week, but you can see, these touchdown predictions, they're based on my own analytics. I do them every week for every game. So these starts and sits and these touchdown predictions, if you're looking for a waiver play now that we're in bye week season, somebody to plug in who has a decent chance of getting a touchdown, that's what I do. That's what my Fantasy Football Almanac for season-long predictions is all about. And if you're interested in free updates, send me an email directly at functionalsportsaholic@gmail.com. It is this channel's contact information. Send me it, and I will give you the point-by-point projections every week, but I'm not going to beat you over the head with it this week. But let's move on to the rest of the games. Starting on Sunday, we have Arizona at Cincinnati. I'll just start quarterbacks and work my way through running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends game by game. Forgive me if I'm looking over here. That's where my analytics are. Camera's right here. I'll look at you as much as I can. Okay, let's move it over. So Arizona. I think Kyler Murray's a start. I think he'll get you enough yards on the ground. I do think that he will throw for a touchdown, a single touchdown, but he will throw for a touchdown. David Johnson, I think, has his best game of the season. Now, if anybody who follows me out there, you probably know I'm not the biggest fan of David Johnson in this system. There's a lot of stuff. You can watch any of my other content, and I'll tell you why, but this is a pass-first system with a rookie quarterback. It's the same thing that kind of plagued Arizona last year. Maybe a little bit of a different permutation of the same problem, but here we are. Either way, I'm not a David Johnson homer by any means. Generally, I don't even like him, but this week I think he has his biggest game. 2 touchdowns I have him planned for. And if Christian Kirk plays, I have him getting in the end zone as well. Nobody else for Arizona. On the Cincinnati side, I actually like Andy Dalton, which is funny because John Ross is hurt. So who comes in? Auden Tate comes in. Tyler Boyd is going to be taking the brunt of it. I got to think this is a candidate week for Joe Mixon, although my analytics hate Joe Mixon. Who's Andy Dalton going to be thrown to? He's going to be working that short passing game with running backs. I'm going to try to take his shots with Boyd. Arizona's going to do their best to take that main weapon away for Cincinnati. So who else is there to get in the end zone? One of the tight ends. It's either Uzomah or Eifert. For my money, it's Eifert. That's where I have Cincinnati's touchdowns going. Moving it on, we have we have Atlanta at Houston. Let me say this. Matt Ryan, he hasn't looked good. I've talked about it on other videos. If you're interested, you can look at my game-by-game fantasy football fallouts where I react to the games before. I'm always watching every single play of every game, trying to figure out what the tendencies of the offenses and defenses are, to help drive these analytics. I do have Matt Ryan throwing 2 touchdowns. Who knows how many interceptions the guy's going to throw. At least he didn't throw an interception last week, though, so things are improving. Again, another guy I'm not usually high on, Devonta Freeman. I do think he actually gets in the end zone this week. I like this matchup. It's really just about whether or not Dirk Cutter can stay, you could say disciplined enough to stick with the run game, but he's also a threat in the pass game as well. Devonta Freeman, usually not a start in my book. This week I like the matchup. He is a start. I have one more touchdown for Atlanta this week, Julio Jones. I know, again, if you're watching me for the first time, I know you think, oh gosh, Julio, of course he is. But no, I'm actually, historically, I'm pretty dialed in analytically to what Atlanta's passing game's doing. Yes, I know this is a new system, but Julio, I do think he gets in. I don't think Sanu gets in. I don't think that Christian Kirk gets in, though I do like both of them as starts because I think they'll get enough catches and yards. Now, Houston, on the other hand, I think Deshaun Watson goes for 2 touchdowns. Is it 2 throws? Is it 2 rushes? Is it 1 of each? I'm not really sure about that. It could go either way, but Deshaun Watson's a start as if you would bench the guy anyway, right? As for, actually, I can answer this for you. The only other guy I have getting a touchdown is DeAndre Hopkins this week. So I like the wide receiver ones in both of these games. Will Fuller, he's been this close game by game. I liked him more analytically in previous weeks. I don't love him. I actually like Kenny Stills a little bit more, but I would not start either one of them. At running back, I don't like either one of these running backs for Houston either. And let me just go backtrack to Cincinnati. I don't like Mixon as a start. I don't like really anybody else, but if you're looking for kind of a waiver play or a daily fantasy type, waiver wire pickup and daily fantasy sleeper, Auden Tate might be okay there. Atlanta-wise, like I mentioned, the receivers, I like Calvin Ridley and I like Mohamed Sanu, just not to get in the end zone. Okay, let's see. Baltimore versus Pittsburgh. Lamar Jackson, he is a start. I think he'll have a successful game against Pittsburgh. I think he's going to get more ground than pass. I do have him in the end zone 2 times in this game, throwing 2 specifically. Mark Ingram, I have rushing for a touchdown. I have Marquise Brown getting back into the end zone this week. He hasn't been there, I don't think, since week 1. I think he is back this week, and I like Mark Andrews, assuming he plays. If he doesn't, I like Hayden Hurst, okay? So those are the touchdowns for Baltimore. For everybody else on Baltimore, I actually don't start anybody else aside from maybe Gus Edwards, but I think you can do better on the waivers, and we'll keep moving forward there. In Pittsburgh, I do not like Mason Rudolph this week. I think James Conner gets in the end zone. Rudolph might get a touchdown, and if so, analytically, I would say that the odds are Juju Smith-Schuster gets them from what I'm seeing. Maybe Nick Vannett or Vance McDonald if he plays, but Smith-Schuster is the odds-on favorite. I know I'm talking a lot of wide receiver ones here. That's not how these work. It's just a coincidence so far that I keep saying wide receiver ones, and you'll see as we go forward. Okay, moving it on, we have Buffalo at Tennessee. If Josh Allen plays, I like him. I like him to throw for a touchdown. I like him to throw for 2 touchdowns. I don't think Frank Gore gets in the end zone this week, but I think he'll have enough yards to make him worth a play. I don't love him. I wouldn't play him in daily fantasy, but I think he'll get you some. I do think John Brown gets in the end zone, and I think Cole Beasley gets in the end zone. There's a little daily fantasy nugget, a waiver wire pickup. He's been getting a ton of receptions. This week, I like him to get in the end zone. Now, for Tennessee, I don't love Mariota this game. I only have him throwing for 1 touchdown. You can do better. Derrick Henry, he's going to be a play every week. I realize that, but I do have him getting in the end zone this week. And here's one for you. I don't have Corey Davis in. I don't have Delaney Walker in. I don't have A.J. Brown in. I have Adam Humphries getting in the end zone. I think these 2 defenses are strong. They're going to have to be working the middle of the field. The slot receiver, Cole Beasley, Adam Humphries, I think those are the guys that are the biggest touchdown candidates. So again, if you're desperate for a waiver pickup, I like Cole Beasley more. I don't like any other offensive player outside of Frank Gore. I don't love him. Devin Singletary, if you have him, he's so explosive that I wouldn't mind playing him. But there you go. Those are the starts for the week and the touchdowns for the week for Buffalo, Tennessee. Next game, we have Chicago at Oakland. At Oakland, it's a London game. So Chase Daniel is going to be playing quarterback. I actually think as a passer, Chase Daniel's better, and I don't know that anybody would argue with me. I have Chase Daniel as a start, and I think he's a great daily fantasy play this week because he can push the ball downfield, and he's going to be cheap. If you need a quarterback, he's going to be available on waivers. That's a nice one. I have him thrown for 2 touchdowns. I have Allen Robinson getting into the end zone this week. And then if Taylor Gabriel plays, I have him getting in. If he doesn't, it's probably Anthony Miller or maybe Trey Burton. I don't love Trey Burton, but I'm saying, I'm thinking Taylor Gabriel will be in there this week. He's the one to get in the end zone, in my opinion. Now, for Oakland, I like Derek Carr this week, actually. I usually don't. I do here. I have him getting in the end zone twice. Once on the ground and once through the air. I think Darren Waller finally gets in the end zone this week. He's usually been, kind of working, been the main yardage guy. I like the matchup here for Waller in the red zone. I think he'll get in the end zone. And then Josh Jacobs, I have him getting in the end zone on the ground as well. Okay, moving it forward. Let me go back and peel back. Tarek Cohen, I think you could play him. I don't love this, actually. I'm actually on Oakland for an upset, but these London games, you really never know what's going to happen. On the Oakland side, I like Terrell Williams. I have him at a nice projection. J.J. Nelson, I think he could be a nice little waiver stash if you haven't picked him up in your league yet. He's only played one game so far, I think. I don't really have him as a start, but he's somebody you probably want to plug in. When he comes back, I think Oakland's offense will improve. Okay, moving it on, we have Jacksonville versus Carolina. Gardner Minshew, I think he's... I probably don't have him as a start. I think he'll throw for 1 touchdown. I think Leonard Fournette is a start. He'll get in the end zone. I think DJ Chark is a start. I like his chemistry with Gardner Minshew, who, by the way, does not look like Uncle Rico. Stop it. ESPN, come on. Come on, ESPN, you suck. I think he'll get in the end zone. And I actually like this week Chris Conley. I don't think he'll get in the end zone, but I think he'll get you enough yards to be worth a play, enough yards and catches in a PPR league. Carolina, Kyle Allen, I think he's going to have tough sledding, but I do think he'll throw for 2 touchdowns. And I think that Christian McCaffrey will definitely get one of those touchdowns. And then the other one I have, actually DJ Moore, I have him getting in the end zone this week. Outside of that, for Carolina, I don't like anybody else. Curtis Samuel could take his flyer on, but I don't think he gets in. For Jacksonville, I mentioned Chris Conley, but I don't have anybody else. Next on my list, Minnesota at the Giants. Kirk Cousins. Now, I'm not down on him because the media's down on him. Actually, the analytics just don't like it. There's some problems with here. I do think he'll throw for 1, and I think it'll be Thielen, so you can start Thielen. I'm not liking Diggs. We're starting to hear some stuff in the press that he wants out. Frankly, I don't blame him. I don't like him this week. For Minnesota, I'm looking. Dalvin Cook gets in the end zone. He's a play. If you need a running back, I actually think Alexander Madison will run for nice yards spelling Dalvin Cook. So I think, I wouldn't say play him, but if you're desperate, you could pick him up. But again, I think you could do better, especially at a flex position. I don't like anybody else. For the New York, I think Daniel Jones throws for 2 touchdowns. Who knows how many interceptions he'd throw for? My guess is probably another 2, maybe 3. Minnesota's defense is tough. I like Wayne Gallman. I don't think he's going to get in the end zone this week, but I think he'll get you enough yards, catches to make him worth a play. I do think this week Sterling Shepard gets in the end zone. I also think Evan Ingram gets in the end zone, right? So not exactly rocket science. People have been asking me, what do I think about Golden Tate? Pick him up. I don't think that he's going to have a huge game, especially against Minnesota, his first game back. But I do think down the line, if you need a receiver, he's somebody that the Giants need in their offense. They need another guy, that intermediate kind of seam route possession receiver. That's just going to open things up for Ingram. You can't really just roll coverage to Ingram anymore to stop this offense. He's going to add another layer, another dimension. I like Slayton also if you're in a dynasty league. I like him as a longer-term play in this system, but Golden Tate is going to do some stuff, just not this week. So I would say this week is the week to pick him up. Moving it forward, we have New England versus Washington. Look, I think Brady's going to go off this game. I think it's going to be a 4-touchdown game. If you play daily fantasy, you should be rotating Tom Brady, in my opinion, in your roster. This Washington defense is struggling right now. That's no secret. I think Sony Michel gets in. I think James White gets in through the air. I think Philip Dorsett has a monster game. I think he gets in twice. Edelman, I think he'll get a lot of catches. I don't know if he'll get in the end zone. I would say Josh Gordon is slightly more likely than Julian Edelman, but let's be real about this. They could all get in. And another guy, assuming he plays, Rex Burkhead, I think he is going to shred Washington as well. I think there's going to be a lot of touchdowns to go around for New England. So get in while the getting's good. For Washington, honestly, I don't have a single touchdown. I think New England's defense is really going to give this team fits, particularly if Dwayne Haskins plays. I'm sorry, Washington fans, but you're going against one of the top 2 teams in the league along with the Chiefs, and they're stronger defensively than they are offensively. Man, if you want to play somebody in Washington, it would be Chris Thompson at running back because they're going to have to screen because they're going to be behind. And I would say McLaurin, if he plays, is probably your best bet. Maybe Trey Quinn as well. But again, I don't like any of those projections. I'm not suggesting it. But if you're coming back to me and you're saying, oh, no, of course, Washington, they're going to be so behind, New England's going to go to prevent. They'll score 2 touchdowns at the end of the game. My likeliest candidates for those touchdowns would be Chris Thompson, Trey Quinn, in that order, and then McLaurin. Okay, next game, the New York Jets versus the Philadelphia Eagles. A lot of this is predicated on whether or not Sam Darnold will play, quite frankly. I think Le'Veon Bell's a start. I don't like anybody else in this team unless Darnold plays. If Darnold plays, I think Robbie Anderson has more value, and I think Jamison Crowder will get in the end zone if Darnold plays. That's a big if, okay? So if he plays, I like Jamison Crowder. If he doesn't, well, then I don't. Luke Falk's not going to get stuff done against this Philadelphia defense, and this Philadelphia defense is going to be geared up to stop Le'Veon Bell. I think Bell's value comes in PPR leagues. If you're not in a PPR league, look, I know it's Le'Veon Bell. You got to start him, but my analytics don't like it. If I had Bell, I would start him because what the hell else are you going to do? But I just hate the matchup, but it is what it is. He will get receptions, though. I will say that. Philadelphia, I think Carson Wentz has a great game. I think that, I think Miles Sanders gets in the end zone this week, maybe possibly through the screen game. We'll see. I think Alshon Jeffrey is one of the best wide receiver plays this week. I like him in daily fantasy. I definitely think he's a start. Deshaun Jackson, if he's back, I think he definitely gets in the end zone. If Aguilar is kind of playing that wide receiver 2 role, I think he gets in the end zone. So it's Deshaun Jackson if he plays. If not, then it's Aguilar getting in the end zone. That wide receiver 2 for Philadelphia is a definite start. Wide receiver 3 I don't love. So again, if Jackson's playing, don't start Aguilar. If Jackson's out, start Aguilar. I actually, analytically, I don't like Zach Ertz, but again, if he was on my team, of course I play him. You'd be an idiot not to, okay? He's going to get catches. He's going to get yards. I think that the Jets defense will do well in this matchup. Maybe a guy like Dallas Goedert could actually outscore Ertz this week, which again, if you follow me, you're never going to hear me say that again. You've never heard me say it before. But I like the matchup there, or I don't like the matchup, I should say, for Zach Ertz against this Jets defense. And I think they're just going to be able to run or throw the ball through the air to Alshon. And I think that's really why. I think Alshon's going to get the touchdowns, not Zach Ertz. Moving it forward, we have Tampa Bay at New Orleans. This week, outside of interceptions, I actually think Jameis Winston will do quite well. What do we know about New Orleans? They can stop the run. They're better run defense than they are a passing defense. Yes, I saw what the Saints did to Dallas. I saw what Lattimore did to Amari Cooper. I watched that game as I watch every single game. But it's different covering Amari Cooper than it is covering Mike Evans. I actually think Mike Evans has a nice game. Who knows if it's possible Lattimore might even cover Chris Godwin because he's having a hell of a season too. So touchdown-wise, I think Jameis Winston throws for 3. I don't like either of the running backs for Tampa Bay. They're sits for me. I like Mike Evans. I like Chris Godwin. I have Evans getting in twice to the end zone. I have Godwin getting in once and no other touchdowns. So no tight ends, no Brashad Perriman. I know everybody out there is wanting to play Brashad Perriman. Not really. Besides, when he came in the league, he actually looked like Predator. Did you ever Google image Brashad Perriman and then Google image Predator, from like that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie of the 80s? Separated at birth. Let's see, New Orleans. Bridgewater I have as an okay game. He's probably, I would think he'd be on a lot of people's waivers. I have him as a 2-touchdown game this week. One to Kamara. No, Kamara I'm going to get on the ground. I think Kamara will get in. I think Mike Thomas actually gets into the end zone this week with Bridgewater, and I think Jared Cook, this is his week to get in the end zone. Denver at the Chargers. So Denver's struggling right now. No question about it. 0-4, that's not good. I think Flacco gets in the end zone twice. I think Phillip Lindsay scores this week. And I think the 2 receivers there, Cortland Sutton and Emmanuel Sanders, get in the end zone. I like that Fant finally made, Noah Fant, the tight end there, finally made some plays, but I don't start him. He's played poorly, in my opinion, in the first 2 to 3 games before kind of busting out a little bit last week. That's not consistent enough for me. I want to see more from Noah Fant. So again, just the starts here. I actually like Flacco as a start in a daily fantasy play. Pick him up off of waivers if you need him. I like Phillip Lindsay. Don't like Royce Freeman. I like Sanders. I like Sutton. I like nobody else from Denver. For the Chargers, I like Rivers every week. I think he's like the most underrated quarterback in the league. He's awesome. I think so. Here's the deal: this Chargers versus Denver's ailing defense. This is a good matchup for the running backs, but the wrench in the plan is that Melvin Gordon is back, right? So how much is he going to play? I truly don't know. If Melvin Gordon was holding out, I would say that Eckler would seriously go for 3 touchdowns. I think this matchup is that good. Eckler can catch, and we know Gordon can catch too, obviously. It's all a matter of how much Gordon plays. My guess is Gordon plays about 1/3 to 50% of the snaps. I don't think he's going to be a bell cow this week. So what does that mean for me? I love this matchup so much that I like starting both Eckler and Gordon. I have Eckler in my league. I believe firmly that he's going to be the starting running back of the Chargers next season. I don't think this Gordon thing will happen again in 2020. I think they'll end up moving off of him, but I like him in my keeper league, and so that's why I have him. I am going to start Eckler this week. I think he gets more of the touchdowns. I think both running backs get in the end zone this week. One will have 2, one will have 1. My money's on Eckler to have 2 and Gordon to have 1. We'll see what happens. I also like Keenan Allen this week, although if Mike Williams can get into the damn game, he's been this close to getting touchdowns in pretty much all the games that he's played in. I like him as a candidate if Allen doesn't, or if Williams plays, I like him more, but if he doesn't, I think it goes back to Keenan Allen. And Inman is hurt. Man, this LA Chargers team, man, they're snake bitten by injuries. I don't like tight ends in the Chargers in this matchup at all. Green Bay at Dallas. We have 3 games left, everyone. Green Bay at Dallas. Aaron Rodgers always has good mojo in Dallas for whatever reason. Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers, I think he throws for 2 touchdowns. I think Aaron Jones gets in the end zone against this tough Dallas defense. I like actually Valdez-Scantling to get in. We already know Davante Adams is not playing. These analytics haven't been great with the Green Bay game. I can usually predict when either Valdez-Scantling or Geronimo Allison gets in, like that off receiver, but I'm not so great at really getting dialed in yet. As we get more data, things will improve. I would say Valdez-Scantling, but here's the deal. If Adams rolls out of this game, I got to say, man, Allison. For me, it's a coin flip. One of those 2 guys is going to get in the end zone this week. I like Valdez-Scantling a little bit more, and I think Jimmy Graham gets in this week. For Dallas, Dak Prescott, I think he'll bounce back. He'll get in the end zone twice. I think Elliott gets in the end zone. Here's one. I think Pollard gets a receiving touchdown against Green Bay. That's a waiver pickup and play right there. That's a daily fantasy play. I think Pollard actually has a nice game this week. I'm probably the only person in the universe who's going to say that, so there you go. I think Amari Cooper against this, this kind of tough Green Bay defense is just kind of weird to say. I think Cooper gets in the end zone. Michael Gallup, I'd be curious to see him. I know he's questionable coming back, or I believe he is. I'd like to see him back, but I don't like Gallup. I don't like Cobb. I don't like Witten. Usually I like Witten, not this week. I don't like it. Indianapolis versus Kansas City. Man, Indianapolis is ravaged by injuries. So you have Marlon Mack, who I think is a definite play, a definite start, will definitely get in the end zone once, possibly twice against this Kansas City Chiefs defense. T.Y. Hilton, to me, is a definite play and a touchdown candidate if he plays. Those guys are possibly out. Brissett, regardless, to me, is a play. I think he throws for 2 touchdowns, possibly 3. Who would get them if T.Y. Hilton's out? You got to look at Doyle. I mentioned this before. How is that offense going to acclimate? Doyle is probably going to be the biggest benefactor in that system, along with Naheem Hines, if T.Y. Hilton's out. Along with Paris Campbell, he'll get his chances. But I would say it will be for Indianapolis. It will be Doyle will get in the end zone. I don't like Ebron to get in the end zone this week, so it would be Paris Campbell if T.Y. Hilton does not play. Kansas City, I think they're going to respond to what we saw last week. Tyreek Hill is questionable last I saw, which was yesterday. Tyreek Hill has the game of all games if he can play a full game. I think he gets in the end zone 3 times. If Tyreek Hill plays a full game, 3 times, okay? So that makes Patrick Mahomes an obvious start. I think he throws for 4. I think Tyreek Hill gets 3 touchdowns, and it's possible that Kelsey adds an extra 2. So I said 4 there, right? So I basically have 2.5 touchdowns going to Hill and 1.5 going to Kelsey. We'll see where it goes, but I really think this Tyreek Hill is a great start. And I actually think yardage-wise, it depends. We'll see what happens. I actually think talent-wise, Damian Williams is the better running back, but he's been banged up basically the entire offseason into the start of the season. He's had some issues, but I think he'll be back. I think he'll be strong, and he would be the guy I would personally start more so than LaShawn McCoy. But you could argue either point. Certainly, I don't feel strongly enough to argue with anybody out there. But if you agree or disagree, comment and let's interact about it. Last game, Monday Night Football. Is Freddie Kitchens disciplined enough to keep running the ball with Nick Chubb? If he is, I think this Cleveland Browns team will continue to roll off wins. Is he disciplined enough, especially if Cleveland goes down 2 touchdowns early, which is going to happen at some point this season, maybe not this weekend, maybe. Can he stick with that run? I don't have faith that he can do that. But let me say this, Nick Chubb, to me, I've been saying this ever since I saw him come out rookie year. I think he's the best running back in the league from a pure talent perspective. I think you could plug him in any offense and he'll work. He's a very special guy, along with Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, Ezekiel Elliott. Honestly, it's probably those 4 guys in my book, just in terms of pure talent. Those guys will work anywhere. They're fantastic. And I would take Chubb over McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley simply because, if I'm talking purely NFL here, simply because he can push the pile. He's stronger than Barkley. He's stronger than Christian McCaffrey. No disrespect to those guys. When I'm talking about if I'm building an NFL franchise, he's the running back I would pick first. I'd pick him over Ezekiel Elliott. Really more so because of personality. I think both of those guys are similar and really, really awesome. And I think both guys should be featured more than they're already being featured. But that's a long-winded way of me saying start Nick Chubb. I think he will get in. His talent will prevail. I think Odell Beckham gets back into the end zone this week with Baker Mayfield. I actually don't think Cleveland scores any more than that. I think this is a 2-touchdown game for Cleveland. For San Francisco, I think Garoppolo throws for 2. I think that if Tevin Coleman plays, I think he gets in. If he doesn't, here's the interesting thing. If he doesn't, I have Breida having a nice game but not getting in the end zone. The end zone would either be Mostert or I think it's Williams Jr. I always forget if it's Williams or Wilson. I believe it's Williams. I apologize, San Francisco fans, if I'm not remembering that correct so far. Basically there's a goal line back there. He's been getting a ton of touchdowns, and I think he'll get in if Coleman doesn't play. If Coleman plays, I think he gets back in the end zone. Wide receiver-wise, I like Deebo Samuel. I do not like Marquise Goodwin this week to get in. I do not like Bourne. I do not like Pettis. It's Deebo Samuel for me this week. And if Jalen Hurd plays, keep an eye out. That second receiving touchdown for me would be Kittle. I think Kittle gets in this week. So there you go. There's a full week of touchdown predictions and start 'em, sit 'em. If you agree, disagree, please let me know. Who's your favorite waiver wire pickup? Let us know. Comment on it. That'd be really cool. You can also, please follow me on Twitter. I'm at TFS_Sean. Please like our channel, like our videos, subscribe to our channel. You can subscribe hitting the red button in the bottom right or the logo in the top left. You can also watch the playlist over here in the top right. All that stuff helps us out. The more minutes you watch, the more subscriptions we have, the quicker we're going to get to that YouTube official partnership. And when we do that, that just means we're going to be able to add more content. I can spend more time doing this stuff and running my analytics and doing different shows and all that stuff. And that's a good thing, damn it. It's a good thing. So there you go. There's a week. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you soon. Go out. Make some picks. Daily fantasy players, go get paid, baby. Get paid. It's not just a clever name. Get paid. Thanks, everyone.